Tianjin is a city of some 15 million people, and it's one of China's biggest and most economically attractive urban centers. But many outside of China have never heard of it, not until now. Let's bring in CCTV's Roy Remberg. You certainly know it. You lived in Beijing, not far from it.
That's right. Tianjin is about an hour or two away from Beijing, and many people who work in Beijing actually live in Tianjin. You can see the close proximity between the two cities. I wouldn't call it a suburb of the Chinese capital, but over the years it has certainly developed in its shadow. But Tianjin is also important in its own right, we should note. In the 19th century, it was developed as a so-called treaty port, meaning the city provided access to China's northeast corridor, and that has continued over the last 150 years. And the Tianjin port is now the fourth largest port in the world in terms of merchandise that passes through it.
So why do you think it is that so many people outside of China aren't really all that familiar with it?
Well, I think it really depends on who you're speaking with, if it's with business people or just regular Joes. You know, Greater Tianjin has as many people as Manila or Mumbai, but yes, internationally it lacks some of the name recognition that China's other major cities like Beijing or Shanghai or even Guangzhou get, and probably because it has more of a commercial appeal than a touristic one. That economic pool will likely continue and indeed grow in the coming years, thanks to the Tianjin Free Trade Zone that was finally approved back in December. It opened just a few months ago. It's the only FTZ in northern China. Well, the new regulations will mean that foreign companies can set up wholly owned enterprises in this special economic zone. And also remember, Tianjin is now part of a broader plan to connect it with Beijing and Hebei province, the Jingjinji megalopolis that will cover ground the size of the U.S. state of Kansas and have a population about 6 times larger than New York's. Already global firms are getting in. A fifth of Fortune 500 companies now have investments in Tianjin. That means 100 of the U.S.'s most profitable industrial corporations. Companies like Dow Chemicals, which launched its Tianjin site back in 2011 to deal with its growing Chinese market. And last year, Russian state energy giant Rosneft inked a deal with PetroChina to operate in Tianjin.